Hello, I'm Blair Jacobs and welcome to visit Hull and East Yorkshire's Humber Bizweek event, a spotlight on tourism. Now during this webinar we're going to look at the challenges and the opportunities facing the tourism sector in Hull and East Yorkshire as businesses begin to reopen and start their recovery journey after what, and you don't need me to tell you, has been an extraordinarily challenging year or 18 months. I'm delighted to say that with me to discuss the future of tourism and provide his, no doubt, invaluable insight is travel expert Simon Calder. And it's lovely to see you. I know that during the Rita Awards, we saw you virtually. You did a lovely piece to camera with us and you said you'd hoped to be here in 2021. Here you are.
It's absolutely marvellous to be back. Honestly, I'm embarrassed to say, actually been to Hull for a couple of years, and just in that time the transformation here is wonderful. So I'm just delighted to see the city, and my heart absolutely goes out to all the fantastic tourism businesses for the suffering they have had. And yet I think we are now on the cusp of things getting an awful lot better for Hull and East Yorkshire, and I think the opportunities are immense, although my goodness me, it's been an uphill struggle and it will continue to be for some time, but the rewards are there.
Well, there are so many things to discuss, as you say, and I look forward to asking you those questions, not only from my point of view, but also from people who are watching us right now. But before that, though, we have a couple of videos to show, and the first of which is Williamsden Adventure Plays Centre, shown round by owner Tor, who told us how the last year has affected them.
From the January 2020, we were really excited actually as a business. We really thought we'd just reached a point where we'd got over the worst of opening a new business, and then it felt like a tsunami was coming, and you could sort of hear the roar of the water, but you weren't quite sure when it was going to hit land. And that's how it felt here, and I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. There was no way, with this fear about that our business like ours that attracts people to enjoy themselves and mingle together in quite large numbers, there was no way we could continue being open. Christian and I, we woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning on the 17th of March, and we both were, dead alert, and we just said, you know what, we need to shut the business. We called the team in after hours, and we just said, we can't remain open, it's not safe. And it was really emotional. I'm gonna get tearful now. It was, it was tough. It was really tough. It was everything from uncertainty to fear of losing the business. We didn't know if we'd be able to keep the business open. We didn't know how long it would be shut. We didn't know if our team would come back. We were really worried about them meeting their mortgages or rents. It was, really, really dreadful, awful. I'm quite an optimistic person. We weren't going to just sit back and wallow in self-pity. We were going to think, right, how do we get ourselves out of it? I just said, right, this is our time to look at all the costs, look at all the revenue streams, look at, labour costs, and sort of look at the habits of our customers and what they've liked and what they haven't liked, what they've responded to and what they haven't, and see if we can tweak the business for when we are allowed to reopen and get it right. So what we did was just be really, really careful about any monies that we would normally historically have been spending. East Riding Council were amazing. So if they got government funding, they were so quick at getting it to owners like us. We were quite staggered, to be honest. VHA kept in touch with us just to let us know that they were doing their bit to support local businesses, and if there was anything we wanted from them, like feed them info about what we were up to and what we were doing. But we always knew they were there, and that was very much appreciated. Everyone loves our pizzas here, so we thought, can we do our pizzas as a takeout? It seems relatively easy, but oh my goodness me, there were so many things you had to think about. Masks is one thing. It's which door do they come through? What do they, where do they wash their hands or get gel from? Or And actually, initially, they weren't even allowed in the building. So we were taking phone calls from, they were in the car sitting out, out there. I think that was 4 months of adapting, changing, selling gift cards online, trying to get them in the post. Then the date was given, and actually it was early, I think it was the 4th of July. We decided it just wasn't worth it. We had to make sure the team were ready. We were careful with the team. We'd got, screens up. It was quite a big job. And then we introduced indoor play in early September because we thought we could manage it. We introduced time slots, whereas before it had been a sort of free-for-all, you can come and go when you like all day. That worked initially, but you see, there was a second tidal wave coming. This business was shut for 9.5 months out of 12. You couldn't have made it up that that's what would happen to us. It just feels so good to be back. I can't tell you, you can stand in the welcome area and it feels and smells and the sounds, everything about it, it's just a lovely feeling. We didn't build this place for us. We built it for families and kids and grown-ups to enjoy, to get away from it all, leave the troubles in the car, and it's just so wonderful to be able to welcome people back. If we can help them, then I think we've done a good job.
Well, it really is incredible to see what businesses have been through, and indeed the strain the pandemic has put on them. And yet, with true Yorkshire spirit, it seems, they're keeping going and looking to the future. Simon, I think it's fair to say that we do have an extraordinary tourism offering in this neck of the woods, from countryside to city to the coast, the arts, the fabulous food offering. We've got it made, really, haven't we?
Exactly. There is so much strength in the great diversity that Hull and East Yorkshire have to offer. It was really telling, I thought, there at the start of the film, where Tor said, January 2020, we were so looking forward to the year ahead, to the decade ahead, and obviously all of that was put on hold. But it is having great attractions like that, where people have vision, where they have energy, where they are prepared to just keep going, that makes this part of the world so special. And yeah, when you add the coast, the countryside, the city, it comes to a pretty compelling offer. And so it's now mainly a matter of getting people here, and of course people who live in the area, to get them out and about on day trips more.
I was going to ask you actually about the sort of things that businesses need to consider when they are coming out of this, when they are starting to recover, because are we back to zero? Has the reset button been pushed on businesses, certainly tourism businesses? We've got to start from scratch.
The tourism industry businesses that are really suffering are a couple of examples that are very obvious. Tour operators, Jet2, for example, great Yorkshire business, trying to send people on holiday. That's proving mightily difficult. All the great independent local travel agents. And then, of course, the inbound industry. Look at York, like Chester, like Stratford-on-Avon, very dependent on overseas visitors. Now, while of course Hull and East Yorkshire have always attracted a certain number of people, particularly from the Low Countries and Germany due to the ferry links, it's not, there is still very much a UK focus. And with British people, particularly in the light of that announcement a week ago, suddenly, Portugal, yeah, we said it was okay, and we said we'd tell you if it wasn't going to be okay, but in fact it's not okay and you've got to get out now. People are just thinking this is just too difficult, we're going to stay here. So I've even got a slogan for you: everything but the hassle.
Yes, that works,
because
everything but the hassle. There
we are. Yes. Or indeed, if you want to be more location specific, everything but the hassle in Hessel. But let's stop there. So people are looking for straightforward escapes. They will be increasingly looking at the UK, and that's why having coast, countryside, city is so important. I think if you're looking at somewhere like Bridlington, then it will be, especially compared with last summer, which was so difficult, particularly in the early parts, it will be a good summer. People are most definitely wanting to get out to the countryside, and so properties there are going to be in good shape. But best of all, it's the cities, and I'm telling anybody who will listen, you want to have a great British holiday, find a good city, There's got a huge amount happening in terms of culture, cuisine, museums, galleries, entertainment and so on. Just branch yourself there and then make day trips. Lovely market town of Beverley, not far away.
Yes, and you make a very interesting point, but I wonder then, and you talk about the international tourism that places like Chester and York rely on, whereas this part of the world is perhaps more domestic. Does that mean that the competition domestically will increase that much? And how do you make someone who would, coming from London, think, I'm going to stay in York because I know York's lovely, to change their mind to say, I'm going to stay in Hull, or I'm going to stay in Beverley, or I'm going to stay in Hessel, wherever that may be. How do you change that mindset?
Well, you market to people, and that's incredibly difficult because the marketplace is very complicated, because every single city, area, region in the UK is thinking this is our best opportunity ever. But there's great things that can be done. I mean, Hull Trains, no other city has its own train company. Last weekend, Sunday, East Coast Main Line completely dug up. Nothing happening on LNER. Hull Trains have made it through from St Pancras via Luton and Leicester and all sorts of other places to get to Hull. It's a compelling thing, and I think if you are making it straightforward for people and getting businesses to work together, so that Hull Trains and accommodation providers and attractions and restaurants are all kind of working together on the same page, people will say, well, effectively, Europe appears to be closed. Where else can we go that's going to be surprising and refreshing and different, and is also going to offer great coastline and countryside as well? And there aren't that many places that can combine all of that. Meanwhile, of course, you have to accept that large proportions of the population are going to be going to Cornwall, to the Lake District, and outbidding each other, but you're going to see prices soaring there. And the great thing is that the demand for Hull and East Yorkshire not being quite so high, prices will remain competitive, and I think people will come here.
We still live currently under the certain restrictions. Who knows what's going to happen on June the 21st, but we still at the moment have them. And COVID is with us, wherever, for however long it may be. I wonder how important you think this ongoing customer reassurance needs to be, that there are restrictions in place, that the tourism providers do care about this, and it is still on the forefront of their minds.
I think because businesses have been so well organised and so prepared that people are kind of taking it for granted. Who knows how long we'll in some circumstances still be wearing masks for, etc. But I think businesses, by being so professional and straightforward about it, I think people know that they do care. And so while it's great to communicate to prospective customers what you're doing, in fact, I think increasingly, and particularly with the incredible success of the NHS vaccine programme, people are getting. I hope they're still respecting all the rules and the protocols, but I think customers are kind of more relaxed about it, and hopefully they will continue to follow whatever is in place, and hopefully that will ease and we can get back to something like normal.
I wonder what you think customers should expect. I mean, the reason for my question is that we have organisations like Airbnb which have been phenomenally successful. More and more people seem to be converting a garage or a loft or an outbuilding or something to that, and I just wonder whether you feel that there are enough guidelines in place for them to do it properly and correctly, and how customers can make sure that that is the case.
Well, that I suppose raises the whole issue of Airbnb and similar providers, because you do not get every single hotelier, B&B owner in the region is absolutely focused on meeting all the necessary health and safety rules, and you won't necessarily get that with Airbnb. And I think most people would say that yes, the rules have to be enforced, and that there should be a level playing field on which people can compete, and that is a cause for some concern. But it has been even before COVID. Are the fire safety rules in for Airbnbs being properly respected and so on. I think that will perhaps come to the fore once more. There's an awful lot to be said for traditional accommodation providers, not least they are focused on following the rules.
We know how much the online community has blossomed during lockdown. I wonder what your thoughts are on that regarding the tourism and how easy it has become for people to not only book holidays online, but through websites like the VHAY website and things, being able to find out about what's going on and where to go.
Yeah, absolutely critical. And one of the benefits has been the blossoming of social media, including to kind of you don't, dare I say it, older people who would not necessarily have been in that space, and crucially for a lot of businesses, particularly looking into the autumn, older people who've got, well, let's hope, final salary, pensions, and plenty of time to spend on holiday here. That will be good. Yeah, it's just been absolutely transformational. I mean, quite early on in the pandemic, I started doing regular Instagram lives, and that's just brilliant. When I was coming up here, I just said, "Oh, I'm going to Hull." Immediately, people were getting in touch saying, "Right, oh, well, you've got to do this, and whereabouts are you going?" and so on. Really engaging. And individual businesses have also done great things with their online presence, which is really good. So, I managed to book my hotel here very straightforwardly, and I hope again people will be much more focused on going direct to the independent businesses' websites to book rather than going through, dare I say it, online travel agents. So you've got to be there. You've got to make it easy for yourself, and certainly people are increasingly this year, because of everything that's happened, looking at different parts of the UK and wanting ideas, inspiration, which is why the VHAY website is so crucial.
And are there enough businesses that have cottoned onto this now? I mean, the message has got through.
Yeah, oh sure. I mean, I'm seeing great businesses with great Instagram presence, on Twitter, particularly responding to customers. That's so important. And yeah, you might need to employ a 20-year-old to get it done, but my goodness me, they will help you transform.
Well, we've already seen Williamsden, the video of Williamsden. It's not just about B&Bs and hotels, of course, the tourism. It's about Tor and Christian's Place, and it's about the Trinity Market, which we'll see after the break. I just wonder whether, this is Visit Hull and East Yorkshire. This is two authorities that have come together to actively promote, in many cases, two very different offerings in a city versus countryside. How well do you think that works? How important do you think that is?
I think it's brilliant. It makes perfect sense, because Hull without East Yorkshire is it's great. I love the fact that you've effectively got, three cities for the price of one. You've got the Old Town, you've got the Victorian Heart, you've got the Marina area. It's all fantastic, but it's a city, and therefore to have 10 minutes on the train and you're in Beverley, absolutely magical market town. Get the travel up to Bridlington, how lovely. Wander down to Spurn Point. It's the opportunities are great, and it is building upon the strengths. So yes, keeping them, knitting them together was always a brilliant idea, and increasingly in the new reality, it will be more important because, frankly, apart from anything else, people, I think, will also be a lot more concerned about the green agenda. A lot more people will be turning up at the station and just saying, we haven't got a car. We want to base ourselves in the city. We want to have a range of great day trips. And Hull is well positioned to be the kind of base for that. And conversely, of course, if you're staying in Beverley, then what better than to have a day out in a city which has so much to offer culturally.
And certainly as far as Hull is concerned, the water plays a major part in the city's life. I just wonder your thoughts on P&O's decision to lose the Zeebrugge route, and also a potential possible future of a cruise terminal in the city. Yeah,
the Zeebrugge issue is, I mean, that was, I guess, almost inevitable in the once the COVID era had begun, because it didn't have as much freight dependency as the Rotterdam Europort link. However, I think there are still opportunities, and particularly, again, going back to the green agenda, people are going to want to go by a sort of relatively clean green ferry. So I think, Hull, it wouldn't surprise me completely if Hull suddenly got a link to Scandinavia, which would be absolutely terrific. But in the meantime, the cruise terminal is just going to be magnificent.
Do we need one? I mean,
yes.
from your point of view as a travel expert, do we have to have a cruise terminal in Hull?
If you look at what is happening in cruising this summer in the UK, it's phenomenal. Nobody would ever have predicted you would have 10 cruise lines competing to sail around the UK. And on the western side of Great Britain, there's plenty of places that are all set up for the cruise industry. But to have a gateway to Yorkshire, that would be absolutely tremendous and meet the cruise line's requirement to have an awful lot of excursions. And yeah, fair enough, a lot of people will just be getting off the ship and heading straight for York, and no doubt they will have a great time there. But there will also be a large number of people, particularly given the proposed location, where, wow, here's the Deep, and look, it's just a short walk to the Old Town, and then, hey, we're in this amazing space, and look, the Maritime Museum's just reopened, and it's very, very exciting.
So much to see and do.
Yeah. And I think if you given that these ships aren't going anywhere, they're not. Some of the older ones will be scrapped, but the rest they've got to sail somewhere. People will be more interested in UK itineraries, and Hull would be perfectly located.
It's fascinating. It'll be very interesting to kind of watch this space, isn't it, to see what is going on. Lovely to have you here. Don't go anywhere. We've got more questions, but the next set of questions will be from you. And again, thanks in advance for emailing those in. We're going to take a quick break right now. Time for you to grab a hot drink refreshment, maybe some biscuits, and we will see you back here in a couple of minutes. Welcome back to Visit Hull and East Yorkshire's Spotlight on Tourism. I hope you are suitably refreshed. Simon is still with me. Before the break, you'll remember Simon gave us his insight into tourism, Hull and East Yorkshire, and the opportunities available. Well, now let's take a look at Trinity Market in Hull and how the last year has affected the market and what changes it's had to make moving forward. Here's Lucy at Trinity Market.
Pre-COVID, Trinity Market was bustling. We had so much footfall through the door for not only events but daily trading. We didn't expect what was to come, and perhaps we were a little bit complacent with that. I think we all have been. When Boris announced, immediately we did our very best to put all the regulations in, and it was quite frightening how official we had to be. The retail obviously had to close completely, but we could stay open as we are regarded under the COVID regulations and guidance as a supermarket. We spoke with all the traders just to let them know that we had to close, we had to wait for government guidance on what was allowed to be open, what wasn't allowed to be open. As a community of traders as well, we all spoke with each other and worked out what would work better for one, what would work better for another. Everything had to be thought about really clearly about what would be, possibly contaminated by another person who, may have COVID.
So we came in January, which is obviously a quiet time normally anyway. February onwards, it's obviously been sort of COVID times, or at least affected by COVID. We had to adapt and do deliveries for a bit, which was never our plan. Obviously it's a lunchtime spot and we never sort of planned to do deliveries. But I think when it balances out, and obviously more workers are still yet to come back, so hopefully it should be on the up from now.
So as lockdown moved on, there was obviously changes nationally. Some traders could come back to sell takeaway food. They could come in to prepare the food here and then to deliver it, which was really, really crucial that they could carry on. The retail, have really lost out through this, particularly independent retail have. It's really, really sad. It's really heartbreaking. And to regain the momentum of being in business has been really hard for some people. So yes, it's been a bit rough, to say the least.
Pre-COVID, a lot more predictable, safe, units all open, people actually here trading regularly. It seemed to have a positive incline every week. Things were going well. People are quite timid now, I feel, quite shyer than they were, which is something we've always kind of struggled with down here anyway. It's getting footfall, and it's definitely had a negative impact on the footfall. I got the grant for being here. If I hadn't have got that, I'd have been in a bad way really, because I didn't qualify for the self-employment grant, so this kind of kept me going.
So during the lockdown, it was really imperative that we continued with social media. So wording things was really important. Visit Hull and East Yorkshire, Vihe, they backed us up completely. They did specific stories on specific traders. They published that. They said, okay, Coco Chocolate John can't be in the building right now, but he is delivering, and you can order your birthday cake still with him. And it's Mother's Day coming up. Let's get some chocolate. They could pinpoint traders and talk about them and publicise that they're still here. They still need you. And so they were a really, really, really big help, and hats off to them because it was really hard, really hard.
Each restriction that's been lifted, we've been following that, so it was really great to start serving people and letting them go out and enjoy the square. A lot of people said that they'd never really enjoyed sitting out in the square that much, and it was able to enjoy the minster and things like that, so it was nice to serve people at that point. So yeah, hopefully a lot of fun and laughter and drinks to be had.
I am optimistic about the future. In terms of business, the best thing to do is just be present, be open, not let yourself stagnate. And so I think we all just need to rally together, all the local businesses, especially in here, all the independent traders, just need to support and network, show up.
Every stage of reopening has been exciting and a complete blessing that we've never taken for granted ever again. It's been the little steps from the beginning, only essential, and then takeaway food, and then the retail could open. It's all been little steps. Sitting back in has all been, you kind of get butterflies. What I really am looking forward to is the events which really benefit the market returning, and it's brilliant for the nighttime economy, it's brilliant for the daytime economy, it's brilliant for visitors, for footfall, and it's just really good to be back, and very excited about events returning.
It seems like lunch at Trinity Market's definitely on the cards, isn't it? It is incredible, Simon, isn't it, how businesses are adapting and continue to adapt. And it's easy to say, well, yes, they have to, but we are capable of doing that.
Oh, yes. And as Lucy said, be present, be open. That's all you can do, and operate to whatever extent you are able to do. And they've been doing magnificent things. And actually, before I came here, I went and had a look around Trinity Market. And even though, of course, the retailers are just recovering and trying to start again, and even though footfall isn't what it should be, you've got great locations like Spin It Records, which is such a Hull institution, and it's great to see them in business and doing what they've always been doing so successfully, and capitalising on the remarkable musical heritage of Hull.
It's always, I mean, we should always look forward, shouldn't we? But I must mention 2017 and the City of Culture that Hull played, and did it incredibly. And I think, you know, we're just a few days into Coventry taking over in their delayed City of Culture status, and one feels for them of what they've been going through. But I wonder, you know, 4 years on now from when Hull had that year, what you think the long-lasting effects of that have been?
Absolutely transformational. I mean, which was always the plan, and it's easy to kind of think, well, you know, Hull bid for 2013, didn't get that, tried again for 2017 and got that, and it wasn't a 1 year wonder, it wasn't a 4 year wonder, it continues to infuse the city. And that is absolutely clear. I was here in, for instance, 2016, and there was a lot of work getting ready for that, but just in 5 years, the transformation is marvellous. And it's not entirely City of Culture, but that is kind of at the heart of it.
It inspired people.
Absolutely. And it's just, I guess, well, without wishing to kind of get too much into the mindset of Hull people who are a species entirely to themselves, I think it has given people renewed faith in their city and what it can achieve. And as you say, the achievements were spectacular and they are lasting. And oh gosh, this morning I was just down at the fruit market area, just wonderful. Exactly the kind of independent area where you need to have just vision and diversity and colour and inspiration. And every city needs that. And actually, Hull does it an awful lot better than most of the places I've been to in the UK.
Okay. Well, look, let me turn to some questions that you have asked. And again, my thanks to you for sending these in. Firstly, to James from Rupert and Darwin Restaurant, Princess Avenue in Hull, who asks, what do you think about taking deposits to hold bookings at the restaurant? We've had issues, he says, with no-show customers at a reduced capacity and no chance to reoffer the table. James says we are losing income.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
look, I don't think there's anything wrong with in any sphere of business saying to people, right, by Blair, me, inviting you to come to my lovely restaurant with your party of three or whatever. That's absolutely terrific, but you must understand that I'm in business, and if you let me down, or if you can't attend, then that's going to have a direct financial impact on me. Okay, everyone's going to make allowances for extreme circumstances, but if it's simply, it's raining, I can't be bothered. No, absolutely make sure. And I think getting people to commit is a really good thing. Not just because of the security, but it means that I'm sort of looking forward to something. It's I'm saying, right, I'm going to stay at that. I'm going to eat at that fantastic restaurant. I paid 50 quid deposit, and I can't wait to go.
The customers should expect that.
Oh yeah, and I think there is nothing wrong at all with just saying, this is what we're doing. I'm sure you understand. We need your credit card number, just as many other hotels would routinely do that, so they don't get hit with no-shows. And you try no-showing on Ryanair and see see if they're going to give you your money back.
Yes, that's a good point. All right. Well, on to Kate from the Wold Top Brewery. Lovely to have your question, Kate. Thank you for sending this in. Kate asks whether Simon feels that local food and drink is a factor in people's decision to visit other UK locations, and if yes, how do they want to engage with the suppliers? Are they happy to just find local items in shops or delis or independent retailers, or do they want the full visitor experience of visiting the site itself?
Oh yeah, give me yes, I want to know where stuff comes from. I mean, and that is the great thing. And my goodness, well, look, if I were going to start a tourism business in Hull and East Yorkshire, I can tell you exactly what it would be. It would be industrial tourism, because I don't think people appreciate just how much is made here. So you could start in Goole, of course, founded 200 years ago as the biggest inland port in the UK. Now the site of making an entire fleet of Piccadilly line trains, of course. You can go down the Humber to the Siemens plant, creating these incredible wind turbines for the North Sea. And you can go and see what's happening with local producers of food, and maybe even squeeze in a brewery tour. I think that would.
Well, you got one in mind in particular?
Yeah. Yes. So no, I think it's a terrific thing, and I genuinely think people are looking for unusual experiences, and that would be very good. But it's also really important for me to be eating in one of the great restaurants in Hull, and to know that actually, this has come from a farm, 10, 20 miles away.
Industrial tourism is an interesting thought, actually. Is it very popular, industrial tourism?
Yes, it is actually. If you certainly, it's a really big thing in Japan. Every big factory will kind of, in normal times, will open will sell tours. Germany as well. You can go around car factories and so on. Very, very popular, and and there is such scale, such amazing stuff happening here, as well, of course, as the heritage and the economic base of Hull, to remind people of it. I think it would be a great opportunity. But I won't be starting a tourism business anytime soon, because it's much easier talking about them than doing them. Yeah, but anybody else wants that idea, you're welcome to it.
Kate, it's over to you, as they say. Phil Withers from RSM UK. Hello, Phil. Says, with the likelihood of variants popping up around the globe for the foreseeable future and the undoubted anxiety of governments to throw the lockdown switch at short notice, does this guarantee the growth of the staycation economy, but also the demise of the independent travel agent, i.e., says Phil, leaving the foreign holiday market in the hands of cartel holiday companies, and foreign travel being something only the rich will be able to enjoy, which is, of course, signs of history, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, crikey! Quite a lot to unpack there. Let's start at the end. Yeah. So is overseas travel only
for the
rich? For the rich?
Yeah.
I mean, well, look, we've had effectively three travel revolutions in business terms. The first one was actually Thomas Cook in the 19th century, when he realised what was happening with the railways and how he could democratise travel. We then had in the 1950s the start of the package holiday, and the idea that if you lived in Hull, you could actually get somewhere, you could actually travel to Spain. And then we had the low-cost revolution of EasyJet and Ryanair in the mid-1990s. Now, that has absolutely gone into reverse. I was lucky enough to go to Gibraltar last week on a family holiday, which was a reasonable price. I got in before it became pretty much the only game in town on the green list. But even then, on the night before, I was having to fill in forms for tests and things, and £100 extra per person just to come back into the UK. And that's pricing people out of overseas holidays. Insurance costs will be rising. There is a great uncertainty, which of course a lot of people earlier this week faced coming back from Portugal. Either you pay £350 to get on the last flight out of, forgive me, it was actually £250, last flight out of Faro to get to Doncaster, Sheffield, or you're going to be self-isolating. That's just a sort of lottery. So it's a really challenging position for the entire travel industry to be in. I don't think though that necessarily it spells the demise of independent travel agents. I think actually the opposite. If you're a good expert professional, you know all the pitfalls, you've done your homework, you tell me, right, you do realise if you're going to be going to Gibraltar, you're going to have to do this before you go, and this and this and this before you come back. And people want that kind of reassurance, and they also want to be able to look someone in the eye and say, okay, so if it all goes, as they say in the travel industry, tango uniform, what am I able to do? What sort of so people will hopefully coming out of this value expertise even more. They will ask the right questions. But in terms of, I'm not sure I allow the term staycation, I'm afraid. Staycation, originally as defined, means staying in your house, making day trips out. But domestic holidays, absolutely, yes. This is going to be the decade where we reacquaint ourselves with the amount that is on offer here in the UK. And that's going to be great for well-focused tourism businesses.
Indeed. He does have a PS, and I suspect, Phil, there is a vested interest in this question, because he says, as an avid follower of your Instagram blogs, what are the chances of Croatia coming out of amber by August? I wonder where Phil's going on his holiday in August.
Well, Phil's question shows the utter... should we draw lots? Should we have a raffle? Should we toss a coin? Nobody knows. And going back to last week's surprising decision on the traffic light quarantine scheme, nobody knows what's going to happen. And it remains to be seen. I would be fairly confident it would be okay, but I've had confidence before, and things just haven't turned out like that. So I'm sorry, Phil. I'd love to say yes, there you will be on the beach in Croatia, but I can't absolutely swear it. 75%.
He'll send you a postcard if he's there, I'm sure. On to Elaine's question. Elaine is from Broadgate Farm, who says, we're experiencing a staycation, and I know what you've said about that word, but I can't think of another one right now, a staycation boom this summer. What do you think are the prospects, says Elaine, for domestic tourism in 2022? Will domestic holidays decline next year as international travel frees up? That's a very interesting one, isn't it? 'Cause it's all very well so-called cashing in this year. You need to sustain it.
Sure. Well, Elaine, I'm so glad that you're having a really successful summer, and I hope that the same applies to a whole range of businesses across Hull and East Yorkshire. But of course, it all depends how great an experience people have. This is an unparalleled opportunity. It's awful circumstances, and nobody will wish them upon the world, but since people will be thinking, there will be a timidity, certainly for this year, possibly extending into next year, it is a great opportunity to say, actually, you don't need all that airport hassle. You don't need to be filling in these difficult forms. You don't need to worry about, we haven't even mentioned it yet, Brexit and the effect that that's going to have on your holiday abroad. You can have a great time here. And I know that businesses will be doing all they can to obviously deliver exceptional service and make sure that people come back. It's a bit early to call. I dare say you, Blair, and Elaine and everyone else knows people who've just said, we're not going to be doing with a foreign holiday this year, we'll go next year instead. And it is entirely possible that you will get the pendulum swinging all the way across, and actually people will be trying to go ahead in greater numbers next year. But I suspect this decade could be the great renaissance of the UK holiday, just because people will appreciate what there is, how things are improving incrementally, with new developments opening up, all focused on delivering a great visitor experience.
And it's interesting, isn't it, when you say this just a couple of weeks after we were having reports on Look North saying that the caravan industry, and of course this is the hub of the caravan industry in the UK, is experiencing its biggest time yet.
Yeah, oh sure. I mean, the individual sectors of the tourism industry are going from strength to strength, and it's great that they are meeting the increased demand. And I think the outlook is absolutely positive if people can just remember the basics, which of course you will do, which is, you know, keep going, be present, be open, deliver great service, and as you will know, the best form of marketing isn't social media. It's me telling my pals in London, oh, Hull is fantastic, 2.5 hours on the train, step off the train, loads there, loads to see, really good day trips. And my absolute message for the people of Britain this year is that's the way to spend your holiday.
And have you told your friends in Hull in London about Hull?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Have they come?
Oh, they will be.
I'm sure they will. They don't know what they're missing if they haven't. Final question from those who've sent questions in comes from Chris, actually, from BBC Radio Humberside, who says the Home Secretary, Priti Patel, has said that she intends to charge EU citizens planning to visit the UK for electronic travel authorisation and to make them fill in online forms explaining their reasons for visiting the UK. What impact, he says, is this likely to have on tourism into the UK from the EU?
Great question. It's not going to have as much of an impact as another Brexit-related change, Priti Patel-related change. So let's just deal with what we are looking at. So when we voted to leave the European Union and when the government negotiated the Brexit settlement it negotiated, we decided to become a third country from the point of view of the European Union. That means that as from probably at this stage now, 2020, late 22 or early 23, whenever you want to go abroad, you will need to fill in a so-called European equivalent of the American ESTA. So you're paying money up front, you're telling them everything from your education to your state of health in advance. That's a requirement that the UK was actually instrumental in putting in before we even had the referendum. We were working on this new system, so that will apply for us going there. And increasingly, I think, with particularly the amount of documentation we're having to do to go abroad anyway because of the COVID crisis, people will accept that. The bigger problem is the decision, which I thought might be retracted, that everybody coming in from Europe to the UK must have a passport as opposed to an identity document. Now, this was done because if you go back 10, 15 years, yes, there were certain countries where the ID card, I'm thinking of you, Italy, was not the most secure piece of travel documentation. That's completely transformed, and now an ID card is as secure as a passport, but it was part of the Brexit sell. We're going to ban people coming in on ID cards. We're going to make them all have passports. Well, that will be achieved from October, but it means that I calculate there's about 150 million people in Europe who have ID cards but not passports, because they can go to 30 or so countries only with their ID cards. So you're sort of saying to them, okay, yeah, you're in the Netherlands, you'd love to come for a weekend break in Hull, but you're going to have to go and spend €100 and organise a passport. That, I think, is unfortunately much more of a block on travel, and I still think it may possibly be removed, because the last thing the absolutely battered inbound tourism industry needs is yet more impediments to people coming here. So yeah, I will continue to at least make it clear that that this is going to damage inbound tourism, and is it really such a great idea?
Okay, well, Chris, thank you very much, and thanks again for all your questions that you sent in. I've got a final one from me. Well, you've kind of already said it, because you've gone to Gibraltar. You went to Gibraltar last week. Where are you going on your holidays this year? Because I can't believe it's just going to be Gibraltar.
Oh gosh, well, I don't know, but I do know that I will be. My wife was very, very miffed that she couldn't actually get to Hull with me now, so I'll certainly be coming back to Hull, exploring more of East Yorkshire and doing exactly what I'm telling people. So yeah, I'll be going around other parts of the UK, not to the absolute tourism hotspots, because they're going to be overcrowded and over expensive. And then, yeah, if Europe is opening up a bit, I will try and get there, but it's all so last minute. I want to plan a lovely summer of trips that I can look forward to. And that, if you're going to do that, it basically means the UK. Nothing wrong with that at all. I'm absolutely looking forward to it after effectively 6 months of just being locked down in total. It's just so lovely to be able to look ahead. Maybe June the 21st we'll suddenly open up, but whatever happens, I mean, just from my time in Hull now, I know that things are just feeling more relaxed. The sun's shining, people are brightening up, the city's looking great.
And we do live in a beautiful country.
Yes.
Not just the region, which we're very spoilt with, but the country is beautiful.
So Hull will certainly be on the list, other parts of the UK, and maybe somewhere in Europe, but I'm not going to, after everything I've been watching.
Just enjoy what we've got.
Yeah.
Enjoy what we've got. Listen, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you again to all the businesses for sending your questions in. And Simon, it's lovely to see you.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for spending time with us. Simon Calder, who's taken the time and trouble to come and give us the benefit of his insight and inspiration, of course, towards moving forwards. We do live in a truly remarkable area, don't we? It's time now, I think, perhaps, to take advantage of what is on our doorstep. And I wish you all the very best for a happy, a prosperous and a sunny summer season, and beyond, of course. Till next time, cheerio.